I wanted my van to feel as large and spacious as possible, so in my design I have not incorporated any high cupboards whatsoever. I want to be able to stand anywhere in the van and literally be able to swing a cat. I always feel that cupboards are just in my face, or they feel sort of on top of you, and for me this motion is like, it's sort of like living in a town or city and everything sort of feels on top of you, whereas me being a little country boy, I like this. So that sort of freedom at this sort of height and level for me is going to be rather important. So I also need to think about my storage, so I need to add as much as possible. So to increase the storage space in the van, I am going to make a cupboard above the cab, which is pretty much dead space anyway. I've just wedged this piece of timber in just to get an idea of the height, and I've cut this piece of cardboard, which if I just sort of shove up like that, you can see that that is just a massive space for me to shove in me mankinis and G-strings. I just need to cut this to make a perfect template, transfer that onto a piece of plywood, and then once I've got that, put it in place and then work out how I'm going to attach it. I can attach it to this side because I will have pretty much a batten all the way on the back side of the bulkhead, but when it comes to this side, there is nowhere at all to attach anything, especially because the height I'm going to put it at is probably about there. But I have come up with an absolutely genius solution for that, so let's crack on and see where we get with it. Right, I absolutely love designing stuff and my brain completely thrives off it. I can pretty much visualize anything, but now I've got this in situ, my plan has changed. So I was actually going to cut out a section here which would allow this whole piece to slide right back and then seal all the way around in these two voids here. But then I thought, if I'm shoving up waterproof jackets that might be wet from being outside, or boots or anything like that, that moisture is going to get trapped up there, and because there's no airflow, it's not going to move. That is going to cause mold, and that is a big issue in a van. So, and this is going to make my life easier, I thought if I just keep an absolute straight edge on the back of that panel and leave that void open, all I'll do is put in an upstand along there just to stop items falling down the hole, and it also stops the mold because we've got that airflow. So that is now my new plan. Done. That was literally the easiest job I've had to do in the van thus far. It took about 4 minutes to do, and that is because it is a perfect rectangle, and all I've had to do is just from about a third there, just taper that off with the belt sander from about 3mm down to 0 here, and obviously I've done the same on this side. So now it's in situ. You can see we've got this airspace over the top there, which is great, and it fits absolutely perfectly along that line, which is that plastic there. So all I need to do now is fit something like this as an upstand. So just as an example, we'll pop that in place, and I'm going to do this full length. So I will shape it just to sort of suit the curve at that side, and then it's going to come all the way along right to that side, and obviously it'll stop things falling off down that back, and also in the middle there it's going to protect stuff that's been shoved hard against this soft material. The next thing though, to make sure that we're happy with this, is just to actually get in the driving seat and see if it affects that at all, because I do not want to reduce my driving pleasure. So don't even notice it at all. That is not an issue at all, and I've still got obviously access to this little overhead cubby, so I can still shove my waterproof jacket or whatever there to grab if I need to get out and do anything outside when it's raining. So literally it's just dead space, and now it's utilised for something great, just for shoving more crap into my van. Brilliant. Right, let's do that upstand. I have cut some angles on the end of this bit of wood, and now let's see if she fits. She's tight. When I say tight, she's actually just snug, that's what we'll call her. But that looks perfect. Just got that angle there, so that sits tightly against that, and obviously this is tight down there. So now here's the test. You ready? That is what it's for, just to stop things falling down the back and smacking me out head whilst driving. That is perfect, and the good thing about that piece of timber as well, it's going to provide a bit of support on that full length down that edge. This side's already going to be fully supported against the bulkhead, but that is now going to get attached to a special bracket, and that hopefully is going to just come from this section here, not from this plastic because that's a bit flimsy, but behind that we've actually got a full support beam which holds up from this top bar here right down to the front, just supporting all that. So I'm just going to attach into that. I just need to find a way to do it. Let's get that brain thinking again. Make sure that's in place. All I'm going to do is draw a line on so I know exactly where to attach it to this bit of wood. Give her a good sand up. I've just rounded the edges off with a belt sander, and now I'm just giving it a light sanding off, and then that will be ready to attach to the actual shelf itself. This is the underside of the shelf, and I have marked a line all the way along which is the center of the timber when it is sat on that side. And then I have gone along and I've marked on where I need to do some pilot holes with a drill, just so that when I screw it to this, it will be nice and solid, and obviously I'm not going to miss with the screw. All about precision. So let's continue drilling some pilot holes. A bit of adhesive. I've got my front mark and my front mark, and now I'm going to lay this on and then clamp it. Just give it a bit of a press down to get a bit of suction. Line the ends up. Right, that looks perfect to me. So I'm going to flip her over. bottom, we are securely attached, screwed and glued. But now it's a case of attaching that to the van. And this is where it gets exciting. And I'm gonna give myself a self tap on the back for my ingenious idea. So basically, you can actually buy from a couple of companies shelves that will fit in this area, but they cost well over £100, into like 200 quid. And there's not a chance that I'm going to spend that money. So for me, I've done it for free. The board itself came out of the van. That was just the cladding that was on here when I first bought the van. So that was free. And I've just dug out some threaded bar and a couple of little nuts and bolts, and it is going to be brilliant. So I'll explain. Basically, there is a long beam that sits on the front of the van there, and there's another beam there. And between the two, there's this central pillar which all that hangs off. So it's obviously a structural pillar. And all I've done is attach to it. I'll just grab this light and show you. So that is the beam in question, that big chunk of plastic, and that's about 70mm deep. And all I've done is put a nut and washer on the back, a nut and washer on this side, tighten that up, and then we have got this. An absolutely rock solid fixing point to then attach the shelf to. So all I'll do is drill a hole through the center of this where that fits, you can see that, and then I will attach some sort of L bracket that just sort of sits up, and it only needs to be a couple of inches wide just to support that full length of timber that I've got on the back of that. So the structure is there, and it's just so simple. Look at that. And it will not look ugly at all, barring the fact I'll have a piece of metal here, and all I'll do is paint it, and hopefully I'll find a dome nut to fit on the end of this, which will just neaten that up as well. So there you go. Cheap, simple, it's going to do the job. Awesome, eh? I'm just going to now see where this threaded bar strikes the back of this, and then I can work out where I'm going to drill a hole through it. Oh, perfect, absolutely perfect. On the back of this we've got this hexagon shape, and it's literally in the center of that one there. Couldn't be any easier. Right, let's drill a hole exactly the same width as this bit of metal in that, and then it can slot on, and then we can work it out from there. Ooh, exciting. The moment of truth. Let's do some male and female connecting. Always exciting, that, isn't it? Just line it up. Oh, check we're in everywhere. There we go. We have one absolutely rock solid fixing point for my shelf. So now I just need to get my piece of metal that's going to be able to support the actual shelf itself, and then I'll chop this down, make it look neat, and then hopefully put a nice dome head nut on it, and that will just look clean and tidy. Just awesome. Awesome. Right, I have done a couple of measurements, and I realise I only need a really small L-section bracket for this to fit. I've already got the structure in the timber, which is obviously spanning the whole lot, so all I need to do is screw into that timber in the central section, and that should hopefully support all the weight of anything in this shelf. So I've been and dug out this, a piece of 100mm box section, which obviously looks manky as anything, but I'm going to make this look pretty and turn it into something magical that is going to fit perfectly just in that space there. I've marked out where I need to do my cuts, so we've got a long section there which is 70mm and a 50mm section there, and obviously I will then drill some holes in it. I am fully prepared with all the gear ready to go. I just need to plug in. So we are coming back into my awesome Bluetti Elite 300, which I've got to say has been brilliant. I mean, obviously it's running my track saw, We have got my miter saw there, belt sander, and now we are on a grinder. So pretty impressive really, and that is pretty awesome for me because it gives me a mobile workstation. So if I'm traveling about, I can carry some of the basic tools with me, like a grinder, which comes in handy for many things, and then I can just take it outside, do what I need to do, and sort my van out and mend it if it's poorly, because sometimes vans do get poorly. So it's pretty awesome, is that. Anyway, let's get cutting, and we'll put you down here, sit there, and then we'll show you some sparks. You ready? Sparks means glasses. And I've had to go to hospital a couple of times because I've had flecks of metal in my eyes, and what happens is you get rust rings forming on your eyeball, and what they have to do is pick them out with a needle. It wasn't very much fun that day. Anyway, let's make some sparks, eh? There we have it, one L bracket. I'll just switch out this 1mm cutting disc, and we'll put on a flat disc, and then I'll just sand all the edges and just make it nice and smooth so there's no sharp bits that are gonna cut my fingers. I can't screw it on. There we are, we're on. Make sure it's central, tighten her up, and we're off. Now she's now she's shaved, now she's safe from all the sharp edges. All I'm going to do is just grind off all the rusty crap and turn it into something prettier. I might even just round these corners slightly just to make them look a bit nicer. In fact, they are quite nice, just square. Anyway, let's carry on. There we are, good enough for a magpie. It's actually amazing that you can turn something manky and rusty like that into something as shiny and beautiful as this. So now I just need to drill a couple of holes where it's going to attach to the shelf, and there's going to be one bigger hole for the bolt to go through to clasp it in place. And that is it, apart from I'm going to have to paint it. But that don't take too long, just to give it a quick spray over, and I'll probably just do it in black like quite a lot of the other components of my van. So let's go. Nice that, innit? Shiny. Absolute boomalicious. To say that has just been made with a grinder and a handheld drill, it's come out really well. I've got two holes on this side which are for the screws that are going to go into the wooden beam, and a 10mm hole there which is going to obviously go on that threaded bar. So let's see if it fits. Firstly, what I've done is, on the threaded bar, I've just put a nut on there, and then I'll feed that washer on, and then on she goes. There we have it. That is going to bolt on just like that. And I think that will be pretty enough when it's painted black, although it's quite nice shiny, but that will soon rust. So we need to go get some paint on this and make it look even better. I'm just gonna give it a quick wipe over with my new canister of degreaser. This stuff is amazing. I highly recommend it. It will literally take anything off any surface, especially things like sticky, horrible stuff like, I don't know, if you debadge something like that crafter badge there. Can you see that? Oh yeah, you can just see that. And the residue left over, it'll just take it off really quickly. So it's absolutely awesome stuff. And obviously for this, it's just taking off my greasy mitts. And all I'm going to do is get my little hook it through one of the holes, and that allows me to hang this and then give it a spray over with a primer, and then we'll give it a couple of coats of, I think, a black to finish it off. Nice and neat, ready for the next layer. The final dry fit, and I am well chuffed with this. I've just done a length times depth times average height, and it comes out at a storage capacity of 113 litres. That is massive. To say that's just dead space, absolute no-brainer to utilise it. So I just need to think about finishing it off now. I could paint this, but I just feel it needs to be a little bit more robust because I'll be shoving in things and dragging them out constantly. So I think I'm going to line the top in some sort of vinyl, and then underneath on all this I will carpet it just so it softens it a little bit in the cab. And I also need to, if you can see here, this is actually left longer because I don't know exactly the position of my bulkhead, so I will chop this back to suit when required. Now if you look at my magic bracket, it is so simple but a thing of beauty. Chuffed is the right word. It is simple, it is cheap, it's aesthetically pleasing, or it will be when I finalise everything on it. And above all, it is a practical 113 litres of space. Absolutely awesome. So yeah, I'll bring you back at some point just to show you exactly what I've done when I finish it off, but that's going to be towards the end of the van build. But in the meantime, I have got a million other projects to be getting on with and loads more problem solving to do with this tiny little brain of mine. So please make sure that you subscribe for more, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.